Well, it's a beautiful day to be in Jackson County. Thank you all for coming out. We appreciate it. I never come empty-handed, and so we'll get to that in a minute. But in the meantime, I just want to recognize we got a lot of good folks with us up here. We have our Secretary of Department of Economic Opportunity, Dane Eagle, State Representative Brad Drake, Florida CFO Jimmy Patronis, City of Marianna, Mayor Alan Ward, and City Manager Jim Dean. From Sneeds, City Manager Lee Garner, Malone, Mayor Brenda Welch, Graceville, Mayor Arthur Obar Jr., Campbellton, Mayor Doug Cotton, Grand Ridge, Mayor Chris Harrell, Alford, George Gay, Town of Jacob City. We have the City Clerk, Valoria Wilson. So, and I think we have some other people here as well. So we thank you all for coming. I'm happy to be able to make some really good announcements here today. But before I do that, you look at what's happening with our country with this inflation. It's just unbelievable. They say it's 7.5%, but it's much higher than that. I mean, just think about how much gas has gone up. Look at the grocery store. Almost everything in the groceries, at least 10% increase. It's not 7.5. And then you talk to people in business who are building homes or doing all these other things, and the amount of money it costs now just to buy things that were much cheaper before, it's really very problematic. But you know what? When Washington, D.C. just thinks that they can print money, trillions of dollars out of thin air, and that nothing's going to happen, that's being proven wrong right now. And so when you do these types of inflationary policies, this is what ends up happening. And, we're working hard in Florida. We're working hard on some gas tax relief for Floridians to try to counteract what's coming out of Washington. But the fact of the matter is, that inflation is really biting a lot of people. And yes, 7.5% is a lot. I mean, I think to go back to the last time we had that much inflation, I may not have even been born at that time. I mean, certainly I was very little. It's like the late 70s, early 80s when you had that type of inflation. And so that's a huge, huge problem. And, we're working really hard. We have a huge budget surplus in Florida. We've got huge numbers of job openings. We've got all kinds of people that want to expand businesses. So there's a lot of opportunity here. We're working really hard to stand up for our police and firefighters and all our first responders. We did $1,000 bonuses for every sworn law enforcement officer and every firefighter last year, which is a contrast because they were defunding police and in many other parts of the country. So we funded and then some. And then you actually have prosecutors in places like San Francisco. They believe in not prosecuting criminals. So you can go to the store, steal $900 worth of stuff, and then they just let you go. They don't even prosecute you unless you steal more than $1,000. So you've seen huge problems with how people have approached public safety. We've been very strong on public safety, but here's the thing. We wanted to do the $1,000 bonuses again this legislative session, and we're going to do it. But I think we've got to raise it to $1,100 because of all the inflation. So we're going to try to do $1,100 bonuses for our first responders and law enforcement. We're also doing it for teachers and principals too. So we're proud of that. There's actually a really good package going through the House, and I think the Senate's working on it that incorporates a lot of my initiatives to support law enforcement. But the legislature's done even more stuff. And one of the things we're doing is, you have all these police officers in places like Seattle and New York and Chicago. They get no support. They get treated horribly. And so what we're saying is, look, if you're qualified and you can fill a spot in Florida, we'll do a $5,000 signing bonus to show that we have your back. And so that's going to end up passing this year. And look, there's a lot of people that want to be in law enforcement in Florida anyways. That's just going to be huge and off the chart. We're also going to make any law enforcement family will be eligible to send their kids to school using our Step Up for Students scholarship. So you'll have school choice if you want to be able to send to a private or wherever you want to go. If you're law enforcement, you're going to do that. So we're excited about that. That will be the strongest law enforcement package anywhere in the country. And so we'll look forward to signing that very, very soon. Here today, we are helping with infrastructure and some of the long-term recovery from Hurricane Michael affected areas. You know, when Hurricane Michael hit in 2018, it was like a huge story for like 4 or 5 days, and then everyone except for Northwest Florida acted like it was over. And I understood how significant it was. So when I got elected governor, I said, hey, we're in this for the long haul. We understand there's things we need right now in January of 2019, and we work very hard to do that. But there's going to be things we're going to need, you know, months from now or even years from now when you're looking at this stuff. And so we provided that commitment, and I think I've probably been to Northwest Florida more than any other governor in the history. I mean, that's just the truth. So we worked with, but a lot of times people don't even really understand the ferocity of this thing. I mean, it came in, and part of it was because 3 days before it hit, it was not a serious hurricane. It was kind of like on the border of maybe even being a tropical storm. And then it just gathered huge strength, and it was really more akin to a tornado in many respects in terms of how strong it was and would really knock over. So it did a lot of damage, and it was the only Category 5 I think we've had in Florida since 1992 with Hurricane Andrew, and so it was one of the worst we've had. So it required that we do a lot. And so today, thanks to Dane Eagle, I told them, I said, you know, they'll give you money for like mitigation and long-term recovery. They'll give you 6, sometimes 10, 12 years to spend it. I was like, look, let's get it out and let's get as much as we can. And so this is money that we've gotten, I think, under the Trump administration, recently, prior to President Trump leaving office. But it's something that we've worked through the bureaucracy very quickly to be able to do. So today, we're going to be awarding close to $100 million to communities that have been affected by Hurricane Michael. And of that, 62 million will stay right here in Jackson County. Now, these projects that will be funded by these awards will include everything from improving wastewater and sanitary sewer to improving drinking water and stormwater systems. So here in Jackson County, we'll be awarding a total of $18.3 million to the city of Marianna. That's 2 separate grants. We'll be awarding $13.8 million to the town of Alford, $8.5 million to Grand Ridge, and that'll cover 2 grants. $8.7 million to Graceville, that'll cover 2 grants. $1.4 million to Jacob City, $2.9 million for Campbellton, and $5.5 million for Sneads. Oh, and $3 million for the town of Malone. So that is an awful lot of resources that we're being able to bring. But in addition to just the Jackson County awards, we got about $10 million going to Bluntstown, $8.5 million to Weewachika, $6.8 million to Bristol, $1.6 million to the town of Vernon, $750,000 to Gretna, and that's a lot of stuff too. So Jackson County is getting a lot, but so are some of the other communities. And so what we want to do is, I do have the checks. You know, they say the check's in the mail. We actually just bring the check here, so you have it. So we'll have the checks. So we're going to present the checks to the respective representatives from each. So what do we got first?
Marianna first.
Okay. City of Marianna, who wants to come up and...
Come on.
All right, here we go.
Big smile.
Let's do it. All right.
Don't forget your check.
Alford. Here we go. Almost $14 million of smackers right here. Not a bad day at the office. All right, congrats.
That's the best check you're going to get.
Grand Ridge.
Can I get my counsel?
What's that?
Yeah.
Where's
Now
that?
come on up. They work hard.
Okay, while they're coming up, we'll do the next one. And then we'll...
Yeah. Who do you want up here?
Okay. All right, come on.
Okay. Where's the council at? Y'all come on
Any
up.
other counselors want to councilman? Come on.
Come on.
how many times are you getting $8.5 million? So
That's
you gotta,
right, that's
you gotta
right.
make the most of it.
Shout
All right,
out.
we got everybody? They're coming too? All right, y'all come up here. Yeah, good. All righty. Is this it? Okay, here we go. All right, congratulations.
All right.
Graceville.
Don't lose that thing.
Are they coming?
Get my counsel, sir.
All right, y'all get up here. All right. Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Of course, congratulations. Of course. Yeah, you count on us. Thank you for your service. Man. Appreciate you. All right, thank you. Okay, here we go. Belongs to y'all. There we go. Yeah, get in. All right. Good job. Thank you. All right, Jacob City. All right, here you go. 1.4.
Oh, here
Oh, you
come
gonna
a couple
come
more.
up? Y'all get up here. Get up here. All right, congratulations.
Thank you.
Yep,
All
absolutely.
right.
Absolutely. Any more? Campbellton.
Danny?
Congratulations. All right, come on. Okay, congrats, man. Yeah, absolutely. Neat. All right. Here we go. All right. 5.5. All right. What's your budget overall? This will go a long way for you. All right, Malone. Malone.
Whoa. Oh, that's up.
All right. Anyone else? Okay, here we go. Sit over here. And what's your budget overall? 3 million will go a long way for you. So we're excited to do this, and we want to keep doing more. So we're in the midst of our legislative session right now. One of the things that I've been able to do is use funds from the governor's Job Growth Grant Fund to fortify infrastructure, but also to help with workforce education. So, for example, we've expanded opportunities for people to get commercial driver's license in Northwest Florida and other parts of the state. You know, we need more truck drivers. I mean, you're seeing that around. They're giving these kids like $15,000 signing bonuses to be truck drivers. And so we've done a lot on career and technical education because, quite frankly, these skills are in very, very high demand right now. And you look at the supply chain and how much that's been disrupted. Florida has stepped up with our ports. We're now taking more ships in across the state of Florida to be able to alleviate some of those log jams. We also want to be a part of the solution on the highways by having more commercial driver's license. So that's happening. We're going to be doing a lot more, but I can tell you, the people that are going through these programs are not in debt at all. They're making a really good living right off the bat, and then they have opportunities to do much more. And then in terms of infrastructure, when there's key things in different parts of the state that we can help make an impact in to help a local community and expand an industrial base, for example, or something, we are doing that, and we've had a huge thing. So we're asking for $100 million for that from the legislature. That's an increase over last year, but it's been very effective, so we want to continue to do it. We're also seeking $100 million for our rural infrastructure fund. We want to make sure that our rural communities, who may be more fiscally constrained, still have the opportunity to have infrastructure improvements, whether it's roads, whether it's bridges, whether it's these other things. And so that's really, really important. We're also asking for $100 million for workforce development capitalization incentive grant, and overall over $550 million for different projects supporting our water quality, water resources, sewer systems, you name it. We're doing a lot. So I think this is something that is potentially very, very exciting. And so, if we're successful to be able to get all this stuff through, then that means you'll see me in Jackson County bearing more gifts sometime very soon. So, all right, we're going to have some folks come up and say a few things, so I'm going to invite Jimmy Patronis up to say a few words.
Thank you, Governor. So I know you love history, and this is a total example of government closest to the people governs best. The checks that are going to our small local municipalities, and you know what? The governor of the free state of Florida is here, right here in Jackson County. I love that our governor knows where the central time zone is. You know what I mean? So, I want to give you a little bit of perspective because not everybody was there. But, so I'm starting my 16th year in this process. I never thought I was going to make it past 8. I figured I'd be back at the restaurant. And so this is the third governor I've gotten to serve with. And, in his inaugural address, which in my opinion is the single most important speech he's ever given in his life as a public person, he outlines how he is going to take care of Northwest Florida with the recovery of Northwest Florida's destruction with Hurricane Michael. His next day in office, he was in Bay County. For the next 2 months, I think he made 12, 13 trips just to come back to personally roll up his sleeves to make sure that the recovery of Northwest Florida was not forgotten about. It's so easy to think, hell, sometimes I feel like we're Northwest Florida, sometimes I feel like we're Lower Alabama. And, the fact that you're here with these folks, how many folks living here were born and raised in Jackson County? Raise your hand. And that's not including everybody that here's from Washington County or Calhoun County or Liberty County. It's deep in our roots. We love this part of the state, and we love what you're doing to willing to make a commitment to our recovery and making sure that our pain is not forgotten about. You continue to look out for this state in ways. Let me tell you, the finances of the state are in a good shape right now because this man does the research. He does the due diligence. He studies the data. If the data doesn't hold up, then the policy doesn't stick. He calls his own plays, and that's why Florida is succeeding where other states are failing. Almost $100 million today, over $300 million today. Dane Eagle has done a great job. Kevin Guthrie, if y'all haven't met him, you should meet him. Kevin runs Department of Emergency Management. The governor has assembled an outstanding team and when he shows up like this, don't you worry. Dane is going to lose a lot of sleep trying to figure out what am I going to need to prepare for the governor next for Northwest Florida, because as many times as he's been here, this recovery is a priority to him and his family. So he could be with his family right now. He could be in South Florida. He's right here taking care of Northwest Florida. Governor, appreciate your leadership. Thank you for what you do.
When I got elected governor, our family, we had 2 young kids at the time. Now we have 3 young kids, which is quite challenging. When you have the one, it's like a huge deal because you're like, oh my gosh. Then you get 2, and honestly, it's not that bad because you have man-to-man defense and you just make it happen. You get that 3rd, you really got to transition into zone defense. And so in the governor's mansion, we play a very loose prevent defense because we just don't want them destroying all of the Florida artifacts that are around there. And so we do that. But when we moved there, I went from being on the east coast of Florida in Ponte Vedra Beach to being in Tallahassee, and I went to vote, and my congressman was Neil Dunn. And I was like, okay. So I said, all right, so now that that's the case, they talk about writing your congressman. All I do is when he comes to my press conferences, I always tell him I don't approve of what's going on in Washington, D.C.
Right.
I want to see change. And so I'm going to hold him to that. So I'm going to let Neil come up and say a few things.
Thank you so much, Governor, and welcome to the 2nd Congressional District of Florida. We've never been happier to have a new constituent than we were when we got you and Casey in. I'm also the father of 3 sons and know what you're talking about, zone defense. So it gets better when they're out of their teens. But Jimmy was absolutely right when he detailed the work that he has done for those of us who were victims of Hurricane Michael, which was pretty much all located in the 2nd Congressional District of Florida. And I've been focused on this now for over 3 years, and so has he. And it has really, really paid off for Florida. In fact, everywhere I go in the country, people are envious of our state and our governor. I hear that in Texas. They tell me we've got the best governor. You don't hear that from Texans very much. It was absolutely true. You know, I was running the Ridge yesterday, and your name was in everybody's conversation. They're all holding you in their prayers. And you are well loved in Northwest Florida, Ron. And I hope you move over here permanently. Because all the time. So thank you very much for everything you do. It's always a pleasure to have you in the 2nd District. And it's not just because you bring checks, but it sure is great to have those big old checks. It is. Thank you so much for taking care of us.
Okay, City of Marianna, City Manager Jim Dean.
Good morning. I appreciate everybody coming out this morning. They called and said, well, how many people you think we'll have? Well, you know, I think we'll be pushing 100, and I think I was close to right. But, you know, I just want to tell the governor we appreciate him being here. But most of all, I want to tell my 5 county commissioners what a privilege it is to serve this community and this county. Governor, it's John Roberts, Travis E. from Allen Ward, and Rico Williams and Kenny Hamilton. This morning when I was running Kelson Avenue and Highway 90, I looked to both sides because I can't run on the road anymore. I'm too old. And I see such good work that our street department is doing at maintaining the right-of-way. And I see where there was major water lines broken, and you can't tell that was there anymore. Sam Everett and David Melvin worked very hard to make that happen. They're doing their part. Then, you know, I look at the surrounding cities in our county, and they're doing their part. They're aggressively pursuing state, federal, and other opportunities to help their community grow. And then, you know, you look at the county commission, they took on a huge task of Endeavor property, over 1,200 acres that was owned by the state and then transferred to the county. They've sunk a lot of money, they've sunk a lot of time, a lot of blood, sweat, and tears into that project. This project helps that process along as well. Like the governor said, it's water, sewer, and stormwater. The water will also be a benefit to Endeavor as it grows and continues to grow and rehab after the hurricane. The same thing can be said for the stormwater. Not only does it help our community in Jackson County, but that river is a Florida pristine waterway. It flows through Calhoun County and down to Gulf County, where Port St. Joe takes its drinking water. So this project is not just about our community, it's about the whole region. And we are very grateful because the governor is now doing his part to help us, and we need to help ourselves based on these contributions, and we thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, State Representative Brad Drake.
Hey, PD. Thank you, Governor. So, we're right in the middle of our annual legislative session, and we're at that time where you're discussing the budget, and everybody's trying to figure out what they're going to do to fund their projects to bring them back to their community. So I think there's a little bit of conspiracy here with only a couple of weeks left, and the governor's coming over here dropping off all this money. I think that's a reminder to Senator Gaynor now that he wants us to continue to fund, to give him some money to bring to these communities. But it's and we're glad to do that. But it's a big weekend. It's Super Bowl weekend. So, Governor, you started the sports analogies. I'll keep them going. But it's an honor to have you. You're running up the score, helping these small communities. You're scoring touchdowns. We appreciate you coming over here. The first day on the job, it was right after Hurricane Michael. You said you'd be here, like Jimmy Patronis said. You were here, and you've come back. I think this is about your 5th trip to Jackson County and Northwest Florida, and you're always welcome here. So I tell you what, we'll keep sending you the money. You keep bringing it back to this community, and it'll be a win-win for everyone.
All right.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, Dane Eagle, Department of Economic Opportunity.
Hey, Dane.
Well, thanks for the opportunity to be here today. This is, I get to help bring the checks, and you can tell they're quite large, so they pretty much take up a whole seat in the plane, but we're happy to bring them and happy that they're going to where they deserve. I want to talk about where we're at today, Lafayette Park or Lafayette Landing. This is the definition of resiliency. My understanding is this was a building that was destroyed by Hurricane Michael, and it was an eyesore to the community. Everybody had bigger priorities to focus on, but eventually the community came together and literally helped volunteer and drag away the debris and made this park. And here we are today celebrating the recovery that exists and continues to happen, not only because of this community, but because of the leadership of Governor Ron DeSantis. He mentioned these are long-term funds, and we often get 6 to 12 years to spend them depending on the category of the funds. When I started in September 2020, almost 2 years after Hurricane Michael hit, the money had been allocated to Florida, but we hadn't received it. And the governor said, we got to get this moving. So I simply called up HUD and said, the 2-year anniversary is coming. Boy, would it be nice to get this money out and be able to tell the community that it's coming. And within weeks, Ben Carson set down the agreement. We signed it, which was cool because I got Ben Carson's autograph. But we got the funds, and 16 months later, over $450 million has been awarded to the Panhandle community. And that's thanks to the governor's leadership and what we're doing here today. And that's in addition to what he's done through FEMA and other funds. That's just through DEO. So we're going to continue to work on making sure that we're recovering. To date, DEO has been able to award $1.8 million across Florida for hurricane recovery. And what that means is every dollar we spend, that's $6 in savings for future costs. So that's over $10 billion that Floridians will save because of these efforts. So we'll keep coming back and doing more. Thanks for what you're doing for Florida, and thank you, Governor Ron DeSantis.
Well, thank you all for coming out, and thanks everybody for being able to put this money to good use in your communities, and we look forward to being able to do more as time goes on. Also, just like to hit on a few points while I'm here. Recently, we asked the Florida Supreme Court to provide us some guidance on how to interpret a provision of our state constitution related to congressional redistricting. The court declined to take that up, but acknowledged that these are, really live issues and are unsettled. And just to let people know, that is not changing my position at all. I mean, we will not be signing any congressional map that has an unconstitutional gerrymander in it, and that is going to be the position that we stick to. So just take that to the bank. Second, there's been discussion in the legislature about penalizing financially school districts who flouted Florida law that said you cannot force mass school kids over the parent's objection. And that was something that we believe strongly should rely on the parent, not be forced on kids. You had a number of school districts who were basically flouting this. It was in litigation. We won all of that. Then we had the legislature come in and finally put the kibosh on all of that. And so they want to do that. And my view on that is, rather than take money that may penalize a teacher or student because of the actions of some union-controlled school board member, my view would be, let's not do that, but what you could do is say, any parent whose kid was illegally forced masked this year in Florida in any of those districts, they should have the right to sue if their kids have any negative effects of it. If they have speech problems, if they have emotional problems, physical problems, they flouted the law, and they should be liable for the consequences of their actions. And so if the legislature goes down that route, I think that would be very beneficial. It would strike a good balance between, penalizing the politicians who flouted the law, but also not doing that in a way that's ham-handed and may deprive some innocent school kid of the ability to participate in a certain program. And then finally, with respect to forced masking, we're proud that we snuffed this out long before other states did, and we said you should not be forced masking these kids. If a parent wants to send their kid to school, of course we didn't prohibit that, but it should not be imposed, and that's very clear in Florida law. However, we have programs like Step Up for Students that's provided meaningful school choice to tens of thousands of parents throughout the state of Florida, many low income. And so they've been able to exercise, really for the first time, meaningful education choice for their kids. However, many of the parochial schools that they have selected for their kids are still clinging to the forced masking of these poor school children. So I think the legislature should say, you know what? If a parent is utilizing our Step Up for Student scholarships, they should be protected from having their kids force mask just the same as public school parents. And it's wrong to tell a parent who's made this decision for academic reasons that what are they supposed to do? Try to find another school because of the policy? You know, some of these parochial schools that are force masking their kids, after all this data, after all the evidence is in, it's almost like these are like Japanese soldiers in the 1950s thinking the war is still going on. Stop force masking kids, and if you're getting the Step Up for Students scholarship, I think 100% those parents need to have the same ability to make these decisions for their kid as every other parent in the state of Florida. So I hope the legislature will take that up as well. Okay, guys, thanks so much. We'll see y'all.